Hello everyone, my name is Eduardo Aguado and thanks for listening. In this case, I'm going to make a video about my essay in regards of social reforms of COVID. Now, this essay is compounded by seven uh, parts: the hypothesis, my introduction, the problem statement, the problem solution, the context of the problem, specifically talking about my country that is Mexico and my city, Mexico City, the supporting evidence that I brought you and some examples that can support my own thesis and the analysis in a applied survey I conducted of 25 people. Hope you like it.
The world has changed. This is the way I want you to get you involved and interesting in this topic, in this presentation, because you hear it all the time from the different media sources we have. We are going to a new normality. The world is different. It's now a common use to wear a mask, to have a home office, and to have these social distances. But at what cost? Is there are different things, different social interaction problems that we have in the future? We will see it. So the main question to all of this and my problem statement is what we have to do. These have become a chaotic place since the pandemic started. And why? Because we really don't know how to behave. We really don't know what to do in different aspects. We have vague rules and reforms, and they are not universal. The reality is that this pandemic caught us off guard. We don't have the ability, the social ability, and the technological ability to resolve it. We're still processing all these crazy events from 2020, politics, economy, events, and we are right now in 2021. The world really changed that fast. So my second part of my problem statement is the division from the miscommunications. This happened because we have a polarization, a division within a identification from a specific group of people. For example, there is the Republicans and Democrats always fighting, and they are more divided than ever. Of course, this is in Mexico and sorry, in United States, and I will have more examples from Mexico. Right now, we have new reforms as vaccine record. This causes some miscommunication, and these make a long bridge within the interaction and within the social solidarity in the society. As you can see, people are frightened now. They really don't know what to do, and people are afraid what they don't know. So the other part of my problem statement and my problem solution is to create social measures create social measures that prevent but enhance social interaction. And why is that? Because we need to solve the conflicts in a universal manner. Because even if the countries are single-handed in each country, we have problems worldwide. For example, the supply chain and the social and international tension within China and USA, for example. Um, all that supply chain demands and all the lack of we don't have, and the inflation rates going higher. This only talking economically speaking to so you can have an idea of how these problem affect to the economy and political part of the issue. And for example, in Mexico, like there's an specific use of force against civilians, as you can see here in the world from our in pandemic may also increase inequality, explosion, discrimination, and global unemployment, said stated by the Department of Economic and Social Affairs. So basically what it means from this is that the views from coronavirus are very divided. And as you can see in the graphic brought to you by Estadista, there's a division of the perception of coronavirus from the media. Most of Democrats have a good amount of trustworthy, they trust information from the media, and the majority of the Republicans don't trust the information of the media. This is very divided. People get their own perception. People get their own idea. You can see here why all these social reforms have and must need to happen, and why it's a really big problem. So the real issue, COVID is amplifying the inequalities from society, as I told you, and this is also stated by the sociologist Michael. He stated that the lack of social interaction with one another is making the remarks of our problem in our society. So, for example, if you have a like from, let's say, the Republicans or Democrats, you tend to be more like a Republicans. You will enhance all these ideals that you have before, and you will add it to these COVID problems. You will uh, throw light to the fuel, and you will make the problem bigger. You will have this construction of something you will. So the pandemic created different reforms and restricted the ideological acumen inside countries and created more barriers within countries. As I told you before, international part is affected by the national part. So basically, every single country has their own rules, and they are affected by all these international organizations, and they are shown how they are responding, and they are creating social tension, and they are isolated from the international spectrum. So basically, when you understand that the issue is that you will choose an ideological belief instead of having your own thoughts, you will tear apart and you will choose one side and one extreme of the same coin. There's the Mexican issue, and it's a great example of how this issue goes to a state that is not a first world state. In Mexico, with all these chaos the coronavirus it brings drug trafficking and also economical problems, and I will explain you why. So with not an appropriate reform, Mexico has something called a epidemiological traffic light. In Spanish is semáforo epidemiológico. This means that if it's red, the traffic light, it means that there's a lot of cases of COVID, and if it's green, there's less cases of COVID. This means that when it's red, there are some places that will be closed, and when it's green, there will be places that will be open. So basically, there's a general rule. There's not some specifics. There's anything to follow, Everything, it's just a warning. There's no a good structure for this health reform. And this brought different cases of more drug trafficking. Why is that? Because people in the confinement lose their jobs. They don't have a productive, and they don't move around. They lock up in their homes, and you know what happens? The drug trafficking goes and attack different zones. They use this opportunity to take more territory around, especially Zacatecas and Sinaloa. They have more territory in their arms. And also with the economical issues that pandemic brought, um, by by a lot of people losing jobs and stop the production, people tend to be contract and tend to have the need also to work with cartels. Now, all this is incentivized by the division that is right now in Mexico. as United States have the division between Democrats and Republicans, Harvard International Review, where I gather all this information, also states that there's a division in Mexico with the anti-system and pro-status quo. In Mexico, we know it as fifis against chairos, Morena against the other political parties. So basically, this states that all these differences and all these division enhance more division with the COVID reforms. Some people are against and some people are in favor of these reforms, but the reality is that it's another topic that should be disclosed. But people tend to choose a side just because they have already this original division between anti-system versus status pro. So I conducted a survey analysis of 25 people to determine if there are some single aspects I wanted to add. And this was a 25 people survey. 5 of them were from ages of 4 or bigger years. And the other one was more less than 30 years old, less than 27 years old, and basically more of them were college students and they are working in a formal environment. So the first question I think it's a lot of important is image A. Have you felt lonelier since the beginning of the pandemic? This 50%, more than 50% of the people said yes a lot and just a little bit. So basically 20 out of 25% of people say this. And this is just sustained my hypothesis that people have been isolated. They don't have the same social interactions before the pandemic started. These enhance different divisions and this create a bubble within your ideological belief system. Now, the second question I asked was, how do you feel about unvaccinated people? One thing that really caught off my attention was that talking about reforms of coronavirus, you need to talk about vaccination status and the reforms of vaccinated people. And you will see this in a little bit. But as you can see here, this is very divided. 7% of 7 people out of 25 put, I am open to anyone with respect to their ideological belief. Six put, I don't understand why they are not vaccinated. Other 6 put, I respect my personal choice. Basically, it's very divided. People don't understand why they are vaccinated or not because they doesn't have a clue. They just do what the government tells us to do because they are afraid. I represent that with that result. Other 7 people, and the most famous response was, I am open with anyone with respect to their ideological belief. There are actually people that are respecting this, and please keep in mind these are people that their mortality rate is very low with in respect of having COVID. Other people put, I tolerate them, and 5 people put, they are selfish. People think that when you doesn't have the vaccine, you are being selfish, with no other question asked. So now the vaccination influence. This is important. Like I told you, people tend to go to a new ideological system, a new and bond with some group. In this case, there are 2 groups in the vaccination influence. Within COVID, it's the anti-vax and pro-vax. So as you can see, if you have your first ideological belief system and you have your first group of people, let's say you are a Republican, now with that ideological belief, you will have new belief within COVID. You approve or not of the COVID reforms. Probably you will say no. Now you will go to a third belief system that is anti-vax or pro-vax. So now you will have 3 different groups of ideological belief system that you will have. You will be very, very isolated, very divided from population. You are like in a sub group. Instead of finding a middle ground or instead finding your own belief system, you will be having different belief systems from this pandemic. 3 now. And I ask in this question, do you think vaccination and COVID are making divisions in the population? So then their famous response was somewhat. The second was it struck me and it caught me by surprise. Seven people put, I haven't think about it. People really don't think that vaccination and COVID reforms are making divisions in our society. So this caught me off guard also because I think that people, at least they know that this is making division like any political or religious topic. But yeah, it is. It is making a lot of division. Actually, a third famous was slightly and a lot. Just one people put that no, that is not making division. So basically is a minimum range. But yeah, people tend to think that, especially young people. So with all these problem statements, with all the topics covered, what are the solutions? Well, I get to two solutions because everything goes by the uncertainty. As I told you before, when you don't know what's happening, people is when they are the fright, when they are afraid the most. So basically, you have to cover these two parts of to get a solution: the health issue and the social issue. In the health, I investigate a little bit, and I found from different medical topics that you must have a healthy diet. Most of the obese people are the ones that are dying. Now, the second part is that you must do an individual study in any clinic. You can't categorize your body. Your body is personal, and you will have a reaction individually from the rest of the people. There's no generalization in this. You must know your body and know if this is a really afraid and this is a high mortality rate for you if you get COVID or not. Basically, because as the CDC states, you need to be aware of the comorbidities you can have to be safe. You can have asthma or be obese or have any type of diabetes, and you will have a high chance of dying of COVID. So basically, you need to cover these studies. Now, when you know your body, when you know the really damage you can have of COVID, you need to understand the social part. The first part I put unite. Stop fomenting categorization. We're more divided than ever. We categorize ourselves than ever before. As I told you before, I mentioned three categorizations, and I could mention more, talking with religion and different laws, different class parts, even higher or low wealth. But with the little of this presentation have, I've mentioned all the categorizations that are really concerning. So stop fomenting this. Now, be aware of genetic segregation we're living in. It's true that people, especially in Australia and Austria, are locking up the unvaccinated people. They are fomenting this segregation within one another. They're applying preferences of their ideological belief. So basically, they are discriminating by their ideological belief. Doesn't sound that familiar? Either way, if you're in favor or not, you must be against this because you're dividing, you're putting priority to a certain group of people with a different ideological belief. So stop being aware. People are getting fired, people are not working, people are getting locked down. People doesn't let others to enter to certain areas because they don't have this vax card. So this is really scares me. If you please think well this, please just reflectionate about this. Now, the third part is just simple. Respect others. With the social distance protocol, wear masks on inside crowded places. You need to do this as a moral statement. Either you are vaccinated or not, it doesn't matter. People shouldn't ask you that, but at least you can have the moral obligation that if you enter to a crowded and close place, you can be safe and you can make others feel safe using these protocols. Even if you think doesn't work or not, you can make other people feel comfortable around you with that. And when you go out with a closed space or not, you can take it off. It doesn't matter. But when you are interacting with others that really are afraid, because this is true, people are afraid of the virus. This is true. They need to feel your support by following these protocols. Now, with all this covered, with these two problems, health and social covered, we can finally create a new universal reform. So basically, this is all my presentation. Thank you for listening.